Thank you for this talk on single-use plastics. Um, Kate and Andrew Seppo are our presenters today. Kate is from Brooklyn, Michigan originally, and then went to University of Kentucky and received a degree in kinesiology. She was also a gifted athlete and was on the gymnastics team, and her specialty was parallel bars. She still enjoys a lot of outdoor activities and athletics, and is also enjoying cooking. After graduating from University of Kentucky, she went to chiropractic school and met Andrew, who is also from Michigan in the Port Huron area. Andrew went to Indiana Wesleyan University and has a degree in chemistry. He was also involved in athletics and also plays a guitar. Kate became interested in single-use plastics when she became aware of the amount of plastic particles in our drinking water. Many of these come from single-use plastics, and she is concerned about the effect on our health and on our lifestyle and our environment. So with that, we wish to turn the program over to Kate and Andrew.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Kate, like Lauren just said, and we wanted to just quick share with you, even though that was a really great introduction, just a visual of who we are. But like I said, my name is Kate, and I do have a long history in the sport of gymnastics. I guess we can kind of skip right through these. He covered all of them.
Yeah.
But really, gymnastics was where my interest in health really began. I would do anything I could to just stay healthy at top performance level. And I've just really brought that into our marriage, our office, and really just our lifestyles. So to really kickstart today, we wanted to start with very basic. What are single-use plastics? And they are synthetic or semi-synthetic, which means, man-made in a factory. Compounds come from the production of petroleum. So at first you kind of think, oh, it's great that we're not wasting part of the petroleum process, but it is highly synthetic. Like nothing about it is natural to the earth or from the earth. And that plays a role when we look at how plastic breaks down. And like the title says, these products are designed to only be used one time by the consumer before we get them disposed or we recycle them. So this actually constitutes quite a few products. The first ones that usually come to mind are water bottles, the coffee cups you get from like coffee shops, plastic grocery bags, Ziploc bags, coffee stirrers, those types of products. And really where our interest began, like Lauren said, was with water bottles. But to kind of give a little bit more history with me personally, Andrew will. My senior year grad, I actually had a pretty bad accident. I broke my neck, and thankfully I'm doing great now. But when I got to chiropractic school, my husband was actually my clinician. He was a year ahead of me in school, and he snagged me to take a bunch of x-rays. And when I was going over the x-rays with the doctor was looking at how my surgery had gone and where my fusion was sitting, and had said, you are likely to experience thyroid issues in your future just because of where this is sitting and where the inflammation in your body is going to be. And I'm somebody that's crazy proactive with my health. And so I went home that day and got on Google and started looking up what can I do to alleviate stress on my thyroid. And it does not take an extensive Google search to find that plastic is a massive endocrine or hormone disruptor, and adversely affects your thyroid pretty significantly. And so I began to look at the products that I was using. And as Lauren was saying, it was really a water bottle. When you drink exclusively out of plastic water bottles, you are consuming about 90,000 more microplastics that break down in your body than people that drink out of reusable bottles or glass water bottles. So I read that, and then I read, it's even worse if you keep the water bottles in your car, especially living in Atlanta where it's hot. The heating up of the plastic exacerbates the issue and causes more plastic to get into your water. And so then I was thinking about I'm kind of a coffee lover. So if I go to Starbucks,
that's the understatement of the year. She absolutely.
I do. Yeah, I love coffee. Yeah. Definitely my vice. But I got thinking about boy, if you're putting hot coffee in these cups that are lined with plastic and have plastic lids, how much more plastic is getting into my coffee. And what an easy switch to just buy a reusable water bottle and a reusable coffee cup that actually keeps my coffee warmer. So it's kind of a win all around. But those were the two switches I began with, which really progressed into a whole other, everything that I'm using plastic in, which we will definitely go through. But my next step was to look at the food that I was consuming, and was there ways that could I purchase this food without plastic every week. So that was really where my journey began. And Andrew's began here in Holland, Michigan, actually.
Yeah, mine. Again, I'm a young married man, and I learned very early on in my marriage that to keep a very happy wife was a very wise investment on my own part. So, I supported her health journey. Now, yes, I'm a little more holistic and proactive with my health as well. But to say that I was as concerned about plastics as my wife was immediately would be a lie. I wasn't, and we started getting involved with some things in the area when we moved here. One of them was we wanted to just support anything that was promoting healthy living, any wellness type initiatives. And so the Outdoor Discovery Center, which is a lovely organization in the area, had a Makatawa Water Festival. Just looking at the watershed area and how we could, promote keeping it clean, keeping it healthy. And they asked us, we said, hey, we'd love to support you guys and be a sponsor of the event. And so we came out and said we had to have an activity that's designed around, or it's aimed or geared towards keeping the water area healthy. And so we started looking at ideas of how we can get outside and promote people getting active and getting healthy. And there's a Swedish term called plogging. Plogging just simply means you're going to go on a walk or a hike or a run, and every time you see something that's a piece of trash, you pick it up and you either throw it away or you recycle it. So it gives you an opportunity to take ownership of your area, your walking path, your beach hike, whatever you're doing, which I thought was a really cool idea. And then I started doing some more research. And I'm a numbers guy. Things don't always make sense to me until I see the impact, or I can read some research, and just started pouring in how many trillions of pounds of trash, mainly single-use plastics, that are in our waterways, in the Great Lakes, in the oceans, what percentage of birds and sea creatures and fish that are ingesting plastic that we're actually consuming sometimes on a regular basis. And so to me, that was a much bigger impact and a switch from my mind to go, wow, what she's talking about for her physical health is not only affecting me, but also affecting our environment, our animals, our ecosystems, and how that can shift the balance of our own, consuming different edible fish, and how our beaches look, and how, in Michigan, West Michigan specifically, the beaches are a big draw for tourists. So if it's full of trash, people aren't going to come here. And so there's a lot of economic as well as physical benefits. So yeah, we kind of had different journeys, but kind of, again, supporting the wife is never a bad thing. I've learned that. So I'm going to continue to do that.
So hopefully this section doesn't feel super dense, but we really wanted to, a lot of people think of plastic as just one singular compound, but it's actually many different ones. So we're going to take you through about 10 different plastic compounds, what they're in, and currently what they're known to cause health-wise. And I feel like I want to start also by saying plastic is newer. Most of the plastic we have in our world today has been produced since 1950. It's been growing ever since around the end of the World War, but we don't have, a long time to research this. It's relatively within a lot of your lifetimes that the plastic production has increased to what it is. So doctors are still unsure, like long term, some of how it's affected different anatomy and physiology developments in people. But here's what we do know that it's causing. So the first one is polyvinyl chloride. It's often just called PVC because it's obviously a very long term. This is in food packaging, the plastic cling wrap that we often like to wrap around containers or apples and avocados and things. Containers for cosmetics and toiletries. Think about like your shampoo bottles, your body soaps, body washes. It's in our shower curtains, our pacifiers, things that are directly going on our skin or into our mouth are definitely being in contact or very, very close contact with PVCs. And PVCs right now are known to cause cancer, birth defects, genetic changes, chronic bronchitis. A lot of these you'll see are linked to respiratory disorders, which is more important than ever looking at 2020. But it affects your skin, your vision, and your digestion. The next one is called phthalates. This was one of the first terms that I came across when looking up my thyroid issues. Parabens and phthalates usually go very close together, and phthalates, a lot of times, they're a really, really widely known endocrine disruptor, and a lot of times on healthier shampoo products or cosmetics, you'll see phthalate free, and that's usually a good sign that it's probably in glass and it's probably produced a little bit more eco-friendly. But phthalates can be in toys, a lot of things for kids, packaging, food wraps again. And like I just said, it's an endocrine disruptor. It affects your lungs through asthma and reproductive and developmental. So this one is BPA, that's the short name for it. And that one is often known to be in water bottles. There is a big push to have BPA-free plastic, which at first glance sounds really great, but at this point, we're not really sure what they're replacing that part of the plastic with. And there's been no research on whether or not that's genuinely healthy or long-term, which is why we would very much suggest you still go with a reusable water bottle or a reusable glass over switching just to simply BPA-free plastic. But BPA has been linked with cancer, decreased immunity, early onset puberty, obesity, diabetes, and ADHD. Polystyrene is, again, it's in food containers. You see it for a lot of the things that come in styrofoam that are then wrapped in plastic. The bakery containers, the plastic silverware that you throw away, as we were talking about earlier, the hot drink cups that are lined with that plastic. And those can cause a lot of ear, eye, nose, throat issues, can cause vertigo, dizziness. Next one is polyethylene. This one's in a lot of water bottles and soda cans, chewing gum, coffee stirs, things that you can easily see yourself using on a regular basis. And it's a pretty highly suspected carcinogen. So if you can avoid it, I would avoid it. Polyester, this one's more in non-food products like bedding, clothing, tampons, disposable diapers, but it does cause eye and respiratory issues for some people. Urea formaldehyde, I think everyone that reads the word formaldehyde thinks we probably shouldn't be ingesting it, but even if we're not consuming it through food, you have to realize that your skin is your largest organ. It absorbs what you put on it and around it and what we're inhaling. So a lot of these plastics that can be on our furniture or in our cars, we can ingest through inhalation. But again, this one is a suspected carcinogen and respiratory irritant. And in a year like 2020, you want to keep your respiratory tract as healthy as possible. Polyurethane foam. This again is in a lot of non-food products like mattresses and pillows, but it can be lead to bronchitis, coughing, and more respiratory problems. You'll see that that's a real common theme for these. Acrylic is in clothing, blankets, dentures, and food preparation equipment. So things that are touching, again, what you're eating. Again, it leads to breathing difficulties and to some digestive issues, headaches, fatigue. And tetrafluoroethylene is in non-stick coating cookware. That's a whole different topic, but please do not buy non-stick cookware. The good Dutch pans are much, much better for you. Dutch, yeah. For real though.
And one of the things to notice is most of these things, if not all of them, were in something that attaches to, touches, covers, or wraps something that you ingest, right? That's the biggest thing. A lot of these, they're leaching into things that you're ingesting. So it's more readily available in your body than if it's simply a blanket you're getting wrapped in. Some of those are still important as well, but we're going to give some ideas of ways you can really sustainably avoid a lot of these things in your life. And a lot of it's just through changing what and how you eat or consume food with and from.
For sure. And at the end of the day, we like to keep most of our decisions very, very simple. And we just look at what is the baseline, like what has the earth given us or what has God given us to maybe eat? If you're concerned, like what diet should I be eating? We tend to look at what grows in our climate naturally in that season and we'll gravitate to that. And so if we're even wondering, like these are all side effects that have been known to be linked with plastic. And there's probably many more chronic issues, maybe autoimmune or neurological disorders that these could be linked to. And so we think if it's man-made synthetic product that already has known negative side effects, probably more bad things are to come if we continue down this path. So we like to be as natural as we can be with a lot of the products that we choose to use.
Yeah. And so again, we talked about some of the health effects. Again, now we're going to get a little more, I'd say, numbers heavy and look at some research again, just how much single-use plastic trash is out there, where it's at. Again, some of the biggest things, and these are kind of some impacts that really spoke to me. Again, looking at about each year, roughly 300 million tons of plastic are produced. Again, about half of that's being used for single-use plastic. So again, we're producing a lot of stuff, and about half of that is only getting used once and then getting thrown out. It's getting, not maybe correctly thrown out. Maybe it's getting tossed out of the car window or left at the beach, left somewhere else, and is getting into our environment and seeping in. So you're going to see how much is actually getting there. So again, specifically in our oceans, roughly 12.7 million tons. Again, about of that 300 are getting ended up in our oceans each year. Again, that's cumulative. So now we're seeing each year upon that more and more getting spread. Specifically in our Great Lakes, about 22 million pounds will end up every year circulating throughout the Great Lakes. Again, it's a little more home towards us because we're not, we're those Midwesterners. We like our Midwest coast, not the East or West Coast. It's a huge thing. Every year, and looking at all the small tributaries to the different watersheds like Lake Makatawa, and different things that lead out from there too. It's affecting a ton of areas that are near and dear to the West Michigan area specifically. Again, to give you another kind of idea, so that's like taking 5 garbage bags, stacking them on top of each other for every foot of coastline in the entire world. So think of how many islands we have. Think of how long the California coastline, the Alaskan coastline, Mexico, so every coastline in America, in the world, having 5 garbage bags full of single-use plastics built up on them. It's a huge thing. It's overwhelming. It's insane. And to me, this is the biggest one. Again, looking at kind of a more global, we have roughly 5 trillion pieces of plastic in our oceans. That's 500 times the number of stars they estimate to be in just the Milky Way galaxy alone.
And I don't know if we talked about how plastic degrades. It never actually goes away completely. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller and smaller components that become microplastics. So you might not even be able to see some of the plastics in the ocean, but it's still there. And that plays an important part in our ecosystem because it gets into the tissues of different seabirds and fish. But we look at 5 trillion and you think, how could that be? It's because some of them are so small that you actually can't see them.
That's a scary thought too. I remember hearing this. We haven't made plastic that has fully biodegraded yet. Let that sit in. No matter when it's made in our lifetime, in your lifetime, so far in 2020, there's been no plastic particle that's completely become a biodegradable substance. They still last and are lasting longer. Again, there's actually a floating island of trash and plastic right now in the Pacific Ocean that's twice the size of Texas. It's the second largest state in America behind Alaska. Twice that size is just floating. And again, that's creating issues and wreaking havoc on sea life, on different things we're going to talk about there right now. Again, here's a lovely picture of a seagull and a bird that has, about 15 or 20 different pieces of discarded plastic, right? About 90% of all seabirds that they've been able to test have had some sort of plastic in their stomachs. Again, they're not the smartest of creatures and they're just eating whatever they see. And the more that's out there, the more they're going to eat. Roughly 70% of fish have ingested plastic. And again, as my wife said, their tissue, the muscle that we eat, we love to, sear up with some great, cumin and some paprika and all that kind of good stuff. If that has microplastics in it, based on where it was ingested or where it was grown, or where it was wildly caught, can really become part of your body and your cellular DNA, and that can create again all those laundry list of effects in the body. They found crustaceans in the Mariana Trench, which is like 7 miles below sea level. It's the deepest part of our ocean. They found and tested crustaceans there that have ingested plastic. So it's not just getting on the surface. It's not just floating around. It's really affecting as deep as we know in our entire globe right now. We are affecting every part of our ecosystems, not just in the oceans, but in other things. We're finding trash in jungles that have hardly had any human contact. And so it's incredible to look at the scope of the ability that humans have had, mankind has had, to completely trash literally our ecosystems and our earth. So again, they found different bacterium that produce oxygen, and again are the base of our food cycle, right? They produce oxygen. They get eaten by smaller organisms and up and up and up the food chain. If they can't produce enough oxygen, right, we don't have enough proper balance in our homeostasis, and our ecosystems can't properly develop. And we're big on that. Our bodies are designed, and our lives are designed to adapt and to overcome and find that balance in our external and internal environment. And so if from the base up we can't properly have that, that's a huge issue. Right here, looking at just even personally, not just globally, but now an American will on average throw about 185 pounds, which is roughly the size of the average human male, of plastic just in 1 year. Again, this is kind of the biggest thing for us, is looking at how we're able to properly dispose of things, right? We talked about that plastic can't actually biodegrade. So if there's a ton of single-use plastic and water bottles that are, again, like 14% of all that waste is simply just from one portion or one type of single-use plastic. How are we able to recycle that? And the fact is that of all this tons of plastic that's produced, a fraction of a fraction of a percent is actually getting properly recycled. And the issue with that is a lot of times, again, it's access. Yeah, we have a couple things, but it's also knowing what to do, right? If you have proper access, say you pay for recycling at home, from like Air Waste to one of the local companies that comes by, if you have any type of food residue on anything you put in your recycling bin, that entire bin is considered inappropriate to recycle, and they have to throw it away. So a lot of times the issue isn't even just access; it's being knowledgeable, mindful and knowledgeable about how and what to do that. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Again, it's not just that we don't. This is not a whole negative thing. We're not just doom and gloom on everybody, right? There's a lot of people out there, a lot of organizations and companies and opportunities that we have to make really good decisions and healthy decisions. But it's very difficult sometimes to know if we don't have access to it. And so one of the things we found is that even in this area, I know Kent County has some, but in Ottawa County, we have yet to find a free recycling site. Everywhere we've lived before, we've had opportunities to go and have a big bin of things you can separate, and have number twos, number ones, different types of materials you can recycle, and you can sort them and categorize them. My father-in-law lives in northern Indiana, in the middle of nowhere, and he has, within a 5-mile drive of his house, 5 different free recycling drop-off sites. That's something that we've been actually passionate about, and trying to even work with the local administration for, whether it's the city of Holland or we live in Zealand, trying to find and get access to that, because it's a huge thing. If people can have more access, we can see more and more of these things get recycled. So I'll get off my soapbox about that. But yeah, like I said, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of stuff we can do to make sure that we're being mindful of that.
So even if you're super passionate about the health benefits and the earth benefits, there is always the financial aspect to making any lifestyle switch. And you'll find that a lot of single-use plastics are corporate wins for these businesses, because they do create lifelong customers out of you. When you purchase a sustainable product, it oftentimes is a higher upfront investment, but you're purchasing that often for life. So ultimately, it's going to be a cheaper option. If you're looking at water bottles, for example, you probably pay $3 to $4 for 2024 water bottles. You might go through that in a week or two. You might pay $10 or $12 for a reusable water bottle, but we've had these for 5+ years. We never purchase water bottles. We always bring our reusable bottles with us everywhere, and airports, and a lot of mainstream businesses are providing you with the filtered water systems where you can just fill up your own water bottle. And so you have to really make it work for, maybe look at what you use the most and what some of the easiest switches for you and your family are, because you do need to weigh the cost benefits. But long-term, things like switching out your water bottles, your plastic wraps, your coffee mugs, oftentimes coffee shops will give you a discount for bringing in your own coffee cup.
We're all about saving a buck, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Switching things out like paper towel. You don't have to constantly use paper towel. You can use tea rags or old t-shirts instead. Feminine products.
My old t-shirts, to be more precise, yes.
Anyway, so long-term, some items will save you money and some may not long-term. such as my cosmetics that I buy are all in glass. A lot of the shampoo and conditioner that I buy is also in glass. So while that's not technically saving me money, just by directly switching that out, I often ask myself, what is my health worth to me? Because being proactive in my health today will save me a lot of money and medical bills down the road by allowing me not to have an over stressed thyroid, having thyroid issues, needing surgery, those kind of things.
Yeah, and things like me, like I've been trying to slowly change my wardrobe into supporting different companies that have options that utilize post-consumer used byproducts from things they find in the ocean, different plastics they find there, or using more of having like a net zero carbon. That's something you heard quite a bit. It's just what it costs or how much carbon emissions were used to make such products, like whether it's a shoe, a base, or the sole of a shoe, or the nylon, the strings, or even the different fabrics we use for our clothing. There are a lot of companies out there that are doing better and using environmentally safe and friendly ways to make and to produce their stuff. So I like to support those. Again, not necessarily cost effective as much, but it's also an opportunity to support businesses that have that heart and that mindset behind what they're doing.
So like we just said, you can be proactive today and it will pay dividends long term. So that's kind of the whole why we do what we do, but we wanted to share with you the top 20 single-use plastics that we think are relatively easy to replace. Obviously, the water bottles. It's so easy. Just buy yourself one reusable water bottle and you can have it for life. Travel coffee mugs. Like I said, I usually save about a quarter every time I go to a coffee shop and bring my own mug in. I don't think most shops around Holland are currently allowing that, but as soon as that ban is lifted, I'm going back to bringing my own coffee cup into my shops.
Or you can make your own coffee at home.
Or you can make your own coffee at home and really save money.
There you go.
Straws. This is one I don't think a lot of people think of, but a lot of restaurants I've noticed in Holland are doing a much better job of either not giving you a straw and making you ask for one, or giving you cups with lids that have, you can just sip straight out of the cup. So I personally never use straws. I do have a couple of glass and bamboo straws for when I make smoothies or iced coffees at home, or if I want to bring them with me, and I have just a little pack or a pouch that I put them in my person so they stay clean, but that's a super easy switch. Silverware is another really easy switch. Like I said too, it's a pouch in my purse. So if I'm kind of in a pinch and I do need to eat out somewhere, it's just one less thing that I have to waste. So I really appreciate having a lot of these things just in my purse on hand, but the silverware is often made out of bamboo. So you just come home, rinse it off, and it's really good for your lifetime. And paper towel, obviously paper towel is made of paper, but you usually can't buy it outside of it being wrapped in plastic. And I just find both of them so unnecessarily wasteful. So we have a bunch of tea rags and old t-shirts that we've cut up to clean up and clean our house with.
It's an excellent way to make sure you're getting rid of extra clothes you have that are lying around, maybe from, I don't know, undergrad where you won a couple of intramural championships, but when you have a D1 athlete as a wife, intramural sports don't really mean a whole lot. So those shirts can get cut up right away.
Anyway, grocery bags, again, they're just super unnecessarily wasteful. Right now, some stores are letting you bring your own bags in, but if they're not, the trick we learned was simply to ask the cashier to put them back in the cart and you bag at your car. I think plastic bags rip on us all the time, so that's annoying, but it's just wasteful, my friends, it's wasteful. Produce bags, it's similar when you go to the grocery store and you have those plastic bags you put all your produce in. I really dislike plastic directly touching the food that I'm going to eat, especially with things like apples, like where I'm going to eat the skin on it. So I have these mesh produce bags that I bought probably 7 years ago, and I take them to the grocery store, then throw them in the dish or the wash as soon as I get home. Number 8 is plastic wrap. Instead of plastic wrap, I have something called beeswax wrap. And it uses the heat of your hands and it will actually adhere to any surface that you wrap this around. So if you wanted to save a leftover dish, a casserole, whatever, I sometimes will wrap up half an avocado in it, and it functions just like plastic wrap, except that you can rinse it off and then it becomes reusable. Cosmetics, I'll share a couple of companies later, but I've swapped out all of my cosmetics to be completely plastic free. Just most of the healthier brands or cleaner brands of makeup are going to naturally be just come in glass anyway. Ziploc bags, again, I really don't want plastic touching my food. And so I have these silicone bags that I've purchased. They're really great if you're going to bring trail mix or snacks with you. If we went to Disneyland is when we bought a bunch of them, just so that, especially if it's getting hot outside, that plastic's not warming up and touching your food. And just like the other things, you can rinse them out and reuse them for life. Plastic food containers, those are just gross. And especially if you are heating up in the microwave, glass is going to be a lot safer. And glass for us, we've found cleans a lot easier as well. So glass will be a little more expensive, but we've had our glass set since we got married, which was almost 5 years ago. So
Oh, yeah, 5 years.
yeah, it'll last you a long time.
Yeah.
Feminine care products. This is one that will save you quite a bit of money. For about $20, you can have feminine care products for life rather than paying $10 a month.
I know all about that.
So that's one, if you know of any younger women, I highly suggest like you encouraging them. It's a lot healthier for your hormone levels and just your body's physiology.
I was actually just talking with somebody, a business owner of a friend of mine, and was talking about, we were looking at maybe doing partnering with a different local shelter to kind of offer whether it be cups or pads for reusable feminine care products. And she actually mentioned, I didn't tell you this, so this is news to her as well, but they actually preferred those over tampons because they allow for better educational opportunities. So yeah, interesting to kind of know that even certain I think it was the Howland Rescue Commission, they're requesting those over tampons because they're reusable. They're a lot more eco-friendly and financially friendly for those who maybe are in a tough spot too.
Yeah, they're set for life rather than needing to come back.
Yeah.
Plastic wrapped toilet paper. This was a fun one, but most toilet paper comes completely wrapped in plastic. And we found a company a little over maybe a year and a half ago called Who Gives a Crap, and all of their paper it's wrapped in paper. It's recycled paper, and every box you buy, they plant a tree. And so it's just a super cool company.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Beautiful. It comes. It's really fun packaging, and we love having them. So that was a fun switch for us. Cotton balls, again, some cotton balls are true 100% cotton. A lot have a fake chemical called rayon. It's what a lot of tampons are made out of as well. It's, again, synthetic, man-made. But even if you have true cotton, it's still probably coming packaged in plastic. And so this is where if I use cotton balls usually to take off my nail polish. So I've got old rags and old t-shirts that I use that do just as good of a job. And body soaps. Not only do they come packaged in plastic, but a lot of them, the scrubs have microplastics in the body soaps themselves, and that provides just like a really nice effervescence on your skin. And so those are being washed directly into our water supplies as well. So I really do try to make sure I buy completely plastic-free body soaps.
This also brings another good idea of even looking at water filters too, right? How much plastic gets into our water system. We have a water filter in our house as well as at our office. We try to take home as much water as we can and offer a variety of opportunities for our patients to come in and get filtered water. It's a big deal because, again, we don't really realize sometimes what we're putting into our body. And if those microplastics can get small enough, they can get through a lot of even the chemical and the filtration things that water filtration plants use on a regular basis to screen and to get those out. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Tea bags and coffee filters. Tea bags often are completely wrapped in plastic as well as come packaged in plastic. And so if you can purchase loose leaf tea leaves, it's a lot better for your body, and it's an environmental win. And coffee filters, again, a lot of times can have plastic in them. And so we personally have a glass French press. That way we're not being wasteful in anything outside of maybe sometimes how we purchase the grounds, but we still like to go to zero waste stores and buy them all plastic free. Same thing for spices. We almost never buy plastic containers of any spice. We've got glass containers and we take them to bulk bin stores to refill them. Prepackaged foods lined with plastic, that's just a health win in general. So anything you can buy not in the middle of a grocery store where the food is directly touching plastic again, that food's already not going to be great for you, and just add in plastic. Avoiding these is just going to, you're going to eat more whole foods and you're going to find that you feel a lot better. Cleaning supplies, again, when you think sometimes things are scented naturally with essential oils, but if you're purchasing them in a plastic bottle, true essential oils actually will erode away at the plastic. And so I like to make my own cleaning products for the house with vinegar and lemon juice and baking soda. And we've got a couple of glass spray bottles, and it's really easy to get away from a lot of the plastic synthetically fragranced cleaning supplies just by making your own. And it's way cheaper at home to do that.
And then the last one is deodorant. Now I let her get all the fun ones, but for me, it's kind of part of my personal story as well. As I'm a young man, maybe not so young anymore. I sweat quite a bit when I'm pretty active, and for the longest time, I couldn't find a deodorant that would do this work. It would either I would still smell or I'd still sweat, or both, or then I started breaking out into rashes, and my skin would get irritated by different deodorants, and so that kind of again gave us a chance to kind of pursue more natural options. We tried natural ones that had even stuff like baking soda in them that my skin would still react harshly to. So we found this really natural, almost it's called like a deodorant paste, where I actually take some in a glass bottle and use that. Again, the healthier options are going to always be in glass containers, and for me, it's worked fantastic. Again, they have natural scents in them, but they have essential oils, so it would not do well in a plastic container. And so some of those things again are really hitting home. Maybe some more with the natural products, and some with myself. But yeah, those are kind of the top 20 that we have found that have been most useful. I would say most reoccurring in our lives. And again, you're going to find in your own lives, you're going to use different things. Not, I mean, if you guys are gentlemen, you probably don't use feminine hygiene products a whole lot, right? And so you're going to find that certain things that you'll be using on a regular basis won't be maybe the top 20 that we are. But the goal for this is just to give you some ideas. There's a lot of things that we use on a regular basis that we don't really realize where it's been, what it has in it. And so every time you see some of those chemical pages we showed you, if you find any of those that are in products, it's an easy switch to say, hey, where can I find where this is wrapped? And maybe not in plastic, maybe it comes in a glass container. That's a big thing, is just really looking at what you use on a regular basis and find a sustainable option for you to kind of, decrease your plastic consumption, or what you're buying, if it's supporting plastic consumption in that way.
So we wanted to send you guys out with some of the next steps and resources that we found, and some are kind of local to the area. So the picture you're seeing here is a store in East Grand Rapids called Proprietary. And if you're wondering if a store like this can exist during a season of COVID, it actually opened in the middle of the pandemic. So they do a really great job in terms of making sure everything is sanitized, and you come right in, sanitize your hands, you sanitize the glass jars that you bring, and everything is crazy cheap comparatively. They have everything from spices and trail mix to cupcake mixes and pizza dough mixes. Like, they have a ton of different things. They even had plastic-free dog treats for our dog. So you come, you weigh your jars, and you fill it up with whatever you want. And we found it to be crazy reasonably priced. And I loved that I came home and I didn't have to throw anything away from my visit there. The Season Home is in downtown Holland, and you can purchase a lot of your spices and loose leaf tea there in much the same manner. You bring in your own containers, fill it up, and it's just a great way to reduce your waste, your plastic, and save some money. Lush Cosmetics, for my females, they have a lot of Bath and Body Works type of products, a lot of soaps, scrubs, eye masks, toothpaste kind of things. And I don't know if they're letting you bring your containers back in right now, but they do zero waste packaging. Some things come without packaging in general. And before, they used to let you bring in your old containers to be refilled. And Crunchy Cosmetics is my favorite makeup brand. Everything they have either comes wrapped in paper or in glass containers.
So again, we talked about different organizations that maybe support different causes, and one of the ones I found that I love is 4 Oceans. And somebody made a joke, what about the other 3 oceans? Well, it's not saying that there's only 4 out of the 7, but the idea is any one of their products that you buy, they produce things like recycled glass, and they use I think 100% of their nylon, or 100% of their fabric they use for even things like bracelets or clothing or shirts or hats. It's all 100% post-consumer used plastic. So every one of those items that they sell, it will take away or will have used about a pound of plastic and debris that they find. And they also support different initiatives where they put a lot of their money to supporting local people. So they do this all over the world, different islands, different coastal cities, where they're employing people to go out and clean the ocean. So you're not only supporting getting, you know, a trendy looking bracelet or a hat or a shirt or a jacket or even like a beach towel, you're also supporting people around the world, promoting a fair wage for them, as well as helping us just not in one spot, but over the entire of the globe to do that. They've actually had some really cool things about these beach wave runners, where they're boats that actually skim the surface and just continually go. And they actually, you know, they have this big giant grate that it kind of filters and sifts through things, so it gets all these big things out, which is really cool. They haven't been able to do that very effectively until now. So Four Oceans is a really cool company. Another one that we have is Patagonia. Again, it's a company that you probably heard of quite a bit, but they have very specific clothing lines that they use, again, either post-consumer products, or they use natural products instead of saying synthetic fibers in some of their clothing.
And I think that's the really important thing with some of these companies that Andrew's talking about. It's already going to be a great step to go ahead and reduce the plastic that gets in the waters moving forward. But we're looking at so much plastic being in the water. So to have these companies have the technology and ability to come and actually take that step of removing that is also a huge environmental and health win for us.
Yeah. Another one is Parlay for Oceans. Again, this one is actually a specific company. They partner with Adidas, which is a shoe brand. And they use, I think it's like 80% of their post-consumer fabric is made from recycled single-use plastics from the ocean. I think they use that to make the fabric of the shoe. I'm a big fan of sneakers. I love a good white tennis shoe. And so when you can get that, but also know that you're supporting not only using something that was, you know, discarded across the world sometime, but also helping make the ocean a little bit cleaner and get some really fresh looking shoes, I'm all about that. I think it's really cool. And again, a lot of great companies. There's actually a brand, there's a seal from a specific company that you can find. Again, there's actually a company, I forget what it's called. It's like, I think it's the Green Initiative, and it will give you a list of different companies that are certified by their standards, that either use post-consumer use plastics or different things like that. So there's a lot of different opportunities you can find to find different companies that have that seal. And a lot of that information is online. If you just search for that, it's really cool to see what's actually out there and what kind of opportunities you have to support not just cleaning up initiatives, but also utilizing, you know, clothing that you're going to buy anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Want to talk about Allbirds?
Sure. Last one is Allbirds. Against another shoe. Again, a lot of my wife's, we're talking about, you know, cosmetics. A lot of mine, we're talking about shoes. You can tell what we're really passionate about, right? But Allbirds, again, is another company that uses that. They also have, I think it's like almost a net zero carbon shoe they make. They use like bamboo. They use other natural products instead of synthetic fibers to make their shoes. I'm actually, again, I'm on the fence of which one I want to buy. There's a couple of different shoes that came out. Again, a little pricier, but you're going to support them. Allbirds, they're pretty fantastic, and just another one of those companies that just really is going above and beyond to really do that. And the whole point of this is, again, it's not a doom and gloom thing. There's a lot of companies and there's a lot of initiatives and organizations that are doing a lot of good work for this. The simple thing is that it's really easier now than ever before to find out how you can support them and how you can, if you're going to buy something, try to find a company that has that product that has also a green footprint, right? That's going to try to either utilize, you know, recycled materials or try to be better and smarter about how they're producing it.
All right, just a few more. Andrew had talked about plogging, but simply just being aware of your environment and being willing to pick up trash when you see it. And the real idea behind plogging is just taking ownership of your environment. In the middle picture there, we had went to a local school field to play Frisbee with our dog, and there was just tons of snacks littered. So we went around and just helped clean up the field. It was a 5-minute thing that we could do, and it really does make a difference.
And a lot of times we'll do that even when we go on a walk. We'll have a little baggie that we bring with us. We have poop bags for our dogs. We use one of those, and we can fill things up with it. We do, and it's again, it's amazing what you can really find when you're out walking around. And if you see it, take ownership, even if it's not yours, right?
There's a really cool phrase that was started by a guy in Australia that is take 3 for the sea. And that's whenever you're at the beach, which is very frequently for us, it's to pick up 3 things of trash and take care of them and dispose or recycle them properly. Andrew had kind of really hit hard on supporting eco-friendly companies, but if you can, it's worth the extra investment a lot of times to just support companies that are doing things right, because we do vote with our dollar, and to show that we care about the world and how products are made, will really encourage other companies to take those steps in the future as well. A highly impactful documentary, if you want to watch and have more visual effect, it's on Netflix, but it's called A Plastic Ocean. And it's very, very visual in terms of how much plastic fish and birds are ingesting, and it really takes you through the plastic ocean or plastic island in the ocean, and it provides a great visual for a lot of the facts that we've just listed here. And then July is very widely known as Plastic Free Month. So we have not jumped fully in on doing a completely plastic free month, but we've been slowly working towards a challenge like that by replacing a lot of the products that we do have.
Yeah, and we've had several people who we know who have even tried to have like a whole year where you maybe you're not plastic free, but you try to, everything you buy for the next X amount of time is going to be something that you're supporting. Again, an organization that's either giving back or that's using things like that to help support them. Whether it's going, hey, I'm going to buy different socks or different shoes or different shirts. Again, are items that I need to have in the first place that might benefit or support the recycling effort or the cleanup effort of said oceans.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that is all we have officially for you guys. Hopefully that was helpful for you and educational.
Yeah, and we'll take, I think right now we can do some questions if you guys have any.
That was so fun. Hey, that reminds me, when my oldest daughter first gave up plastic, instead of trying a whole year or whatever, she did it for what she gave up during Lent. So for that 40 days, she gave up all single-use plastics and started there, and that worked great as a launching pad for giving up plastic in her life. And then I'm hoping it's okay with you guys, but this was so good and so inspiring. My youngest daughter is a member of Shore Club at Holland High, and they clean up plastic from our beaches. So I'd love to share this PowerPoint with them because I think they could get one of their group meetings. Awesome, thank you. And then let's see, I think I saw at least one question come in the chat. It says, since most municipal water distribution systems have some form of plastic, can we even avoid that drinking water risk? By using glass water bottles, we still don't completely avoid the risk. Is that correct?
Through tap water, that would be correct. We have additional filtration systems, both on our showers, our bath faucet tubs. We have a Berkey water filter in our kitchen that we use for all of our drinking and cooking water and for our dog. And then we have an additional water filter at our office that ties in with the pipeline system that does additionally go in and filter out a lot more things like chlorine, fluoride, those kind of things.
Yes, our dog has he has
filtered water. What was is there a local source that you used for the purifiers on your water?
So the source, the company we have is called
Water Logic.
Water Logic. It's based. So long story short, when I was in grad school, one of my roommates, he was even more healthier than my wife or I put together. He was this super healthy nerd guy, and he found this awesome. It's a 9-step water filtration system, and it comes out as a hot tap and a cold tap. Water comes out at like 38 degrees, comes out hot at like 134. So you had instant tea if you wanted. You had ice cold water without any ice, and it has reverse osmosis, active charcoal filter. And so I had that, and I again thought, oh, there's no way like I can taste chlorine in the water. And then once I started using that, everything else, even other water filters, I would go drink, and it tasted like I was drinking pool water. I swear, it was really frustrating because I'm like, my palate had got so accustomed to that. So since we moved up here, I said, hey Kate, we got to find something. We got a little of a cheaper option is the Berkey. It has 2 active charcoal and fluoride filter. So we had that extra layer because there's plastic in a lot of the different systems that we have municipally, which is a good point because like I said, it's hard to get away from it, and being very intentional. There are ways you can do that. Again, our bath water is filtered as well. Our showers are filtered just to make sure that we're not sitting in that, we're not showering that, because our skin will absorb anything we put onto it. So it's a great question.
Okay, and did you say it was called Water Logic?
Yeah, that's the company. So the one that ties in is actually, it's a monthly fee. So basically you pay them $50 a month and they will change filters. They will do all servicing for free. And that's what we chose for the office because it's highly trafficked. We have a Berkey in our house. And then I also have some, I think it's called Clearly Filtered, also provides some really great housing options as well.
Okay. And then I have another question from Gary. Please tell us again how you are both employed.
Yeah, we're chiropractors. We own our own chiropractic office, Seppo Chiropractic. I'm also a fitness trainer at a gym downtown called Vallejo Training. My wife is on staff at our church at Engage Church with the young adults ministry, and she's also a gymnastics coach at Champion Gymnastics. And I'm also on an intern basis, a worship coordinator at our church too. So we've got a lot of. We don't have any kids, if you can't tell. We got a lot of jobs, a lot of kids, but yeah. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, if anyone else has any other questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself and share with us.
I have a question. I first would like to applaud your extensive research. That's just incredible, the amount of effort you've put into finding out all these things that you've shared with us today. But my question is that with all of this concern, I would think the plastics industry would be doing something to make their product more acceptable, a more biodegradable product or something. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about making it more biodegradable, but I do know that they've isolated different components like that BPA that have been super linked to cancer, and they're trying to make plastics without some of those hot button words like BPA free water bottles. So I have seen some switch in terms of it being directly related to your health, much more than I have environmentally speaking.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question on the, if we do have products that we purchase products that have single-use plastics, or we pick up 3 for the sea, or we find these, what is the best way of disposing of them without just simply having them go to a landfill?
So it depends upon probably your regional. We would connect, like our steps would be to connect with Arrow. That's who we do recycling through, and make sure we have an appropriate list of items that we can recycle. And a lot of that means you have to look at the number on the plastic. So it might say number 2 plastic or number 3 plastic. And usually your company will give you a range of what you are able to recycle and what can't be recycled. So we're usually pretty diligent about just making sure the labels match what our recycling company has given us.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Do you know if the amount of new plastic being produced is less today because of recycling efforts? It was interesting, Dale Wingarden had an article or editorial in today's paper, and he talked about how when the price of petroleum is down, new plastic is being produced. When price of petroleum is up, then they're using more recycled plastic. And that's got to be kind of a conundrum for people who are interested in reducing the amount of plastic in the world. But the question is, do you know if the new plastic being produced is really down today overall because of recycling efforts?
That's a really good question. I don't know specifically like today. The overall trend has been to annually increase. I'm sure there's ups and downs throughout the year, but throughout our research, we had found that annually it had overall increased most years since 1950.
Yeah. And I'm
In spite of recycling.
Yeah. That's the thing. The percentage of plastic that or single-use plastics specifically that's being recycled as opposed to what's being produced is astronomical. And that's the part of the issue, is just giving people access to that and knowledge about what they can and can't do, as well as trying to help, clean up the area. It's an uphill battle for sure, because again, there's more products being produced every day. Everybody, is trying to get on, everybody's trying to make $1, right? They're trying to start, whether it's an online company. I have a friend right now who actually 3D prints in plastic and makes these cool things. But again, he's buying plastic in these tubes, these long tubes, and he's making, hundreds of feet of these every day. And it's like, it's trying to be smarter about what we do. And part of it just comes by first being aware of what's going on out there. So that's a great question.
Another question is, what kind of shampoo do you use, and what was the name of the toilet paper source?
So the toilet paper source is called Who Gives a Crap.
Sorry for the crass name.
That's all right. I'm going to type that out.
And the shampoo that I use is called Luna, Luna, and it does come in a glass bottle.
Where do you buy that?
I just bought mine online during quarantine. I was on Instagram, probably more than I should have, and found some really cool companies. But if you're super savvy, you can always make your own too, and just continue to reuse a plastic jar or not a glass jar that you already maybe have. I've not really dove into recipes for that, but I do have friends that make their own in glass jars as well.
Okay. Well, and I know too, my daughter uses the shampoo bars that are completely cruelty-free and safe for if you're washing in the water or anything like that. So, and actually, while you guys were talking, I went online and bought washable produce bags for only $10 on Amazon. So if anybody wants to go do that, they're mesh washable produce bags on Amazon for a package of like 5 for $10. So let's see. Oh, another person just mentioned that Nature's Market on Washington is a really good source for products like we're discussing. So that's a good tip. Anybody
So
else?
my wife and I have a question. We probably use, we're terrible. We take the plastic bags from D&W and line our garbage can. And then, when the garbage can is full, we pull the bag out, tie it up, throw it in the garbage can, keeps everything neat and clean. I suppose the better solution would be to request a paper bag, even though it doesn't stretch over the lip of the garbage can and all that stuff. But that would probably be a better solution, right?
We do always choose paper when we can, but I do love that you're repurposing. It makes me feel better that it has at least 2 uses before it's going to the landfill than just going straight from the groceries to the landfill.
Yeah. Someone asked too about what do I do with all the plastic bags my Holland Sentinel arrives in every day. When we had a dog, those were great plastic bags for picking up dog poop, but I don't know what Andrew and Kate would say.
My puppy's right here. He hears that. Yes. Yeah. Again, and there's an idea you can get creative with. If you already have plastic, or things are already being used as plastic, you can be very intentional. You already have those. Like, I know my mom used to have a big box of plastic grocery bags just to use for different things like that. So if you can find a way to repurpose them and they aren't recyclable, that's also a really good option to help kind of, again, make sure it's not getting out in the environment or in anything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Myers will take back your plastic bags. They just have to be clean, and they use them for making furniture.
I think I heard you. You said they use them, clean them, and they use them to make other things, correct? Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I think Target maybe at one point was accepting bags too, but that might have been before 2020.
Yeah.
It's been harder to do that in 2020.
It's kind of heartbreaking sometimes too to see like all of the reusable masks like in the road and in the parking lot, and
Yes.
we bought some cotton ones that we could wash and maybe make sure we reuse.
That's a whole other thing too. Looking at what's your mask made out of too. I mean, there's a lot of people we're putting fabric right over our face, and if you have synthetically produced fabric as opposed to maybe a more breathable natural organic cotton, that's a big thing. We didn't even touch on that, Kate. That's very relevant to what's going on right now. I mean, you're spending how many hours a day if you're out and about, with that directly over top breathing every time. So I'm sure we'll find a lot of things in the next few years of how we're going to see the research coming out of, or maybe some adverse things that have happened to,
what's the chemicals that are in them.
Yeah. It's interesting though, but
along with research on the deficits of all the screen time we've all had, but yes.
Yeah,
That's a good one too.
yeah. That's a whole.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions for Kate or Andrew?
I have a bag, a silk bag that fits in my purse, so I don't have to ever get bags in when I'm shopping. It's a big bag. It folds up into a little thing that just clips on my purse, and it's really wonderful. And I just say, no, thanks. I don't need any plastic bags. So that if I don't bring them in the house, then I don't have to recycle them.
There you
I
go.
love that. It's all about making it work for you too. If you're someone that forgets bags quite a bit, it's nice to have the bags that fold up in your purse that you always have with you, because I do that too.
Yep, and Bill says the priorities are reduce, reuse, recycle, which reminds me of the Jack Johnson song. If any of you like Jack Johnson's music, he has a song called Reduce, Reuse, Recycle.
I love it.
Anybody else? So inspiring.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Kate, Andrew, we want to thank you for your presentation today. It's been both entertaining and informative, and I think it's given us all something to think about and some ways that we can do our part to help our environment and our health.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so
Thank
much, you guys.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
really good day, everybody.
Yeah. Be safe. Reduce.
Thank you.
Use
Thank you.
paper. Bye, everyone.